Okay, welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive right in and uncover exactly how our brains have been quietly hijacked by modern habits, and more importantly, how we can systematically take that control back. Look, we live in a world that's practically designed to keep us constantly distracted. But today, we're going to look at the hard data and the actual biological mechanisms behind why we feel so unfocused and how to completely reset our minds using a structured 21-day approach. Here's our roadmap for today. We're structuring this into 5 clear steps. Starting with the young Indian crisis, unpacking the cheap dopamine trap, walking through the clean detox process, building the free framework, and finally wrapping up with your action plan. Let's hit it. Section 1. The Young Indian Crisis, a generation on the brink. Now, to truly grasp the sheer scale of the issue we're facing, we first have to look at the staggering statistics currently impacting young adults. Recent surveys reveal a pretty startling baseline. Over 80% of young adults in this demographic are currently unemployed or just lacking any sort of productive, meaningful focus. And, this isn't just an economic issue, it is literally a massive crisis of purpose that's rippling across an entire generation. But honestly, the physical and mental health data is even more concerning. Over 60% of this group is dealing with depression. On top of that, lifestyle diseases, I'm talking diabetes, high blood pressure, even cancer, diseases you typically see in people in their 50s or 60s are now regularly popping up in teenagers and 20-somethings. It's not getting better, guys. It's getting significantly worse. And this really hits the nail on the head when it comes to the root causes. Just look at these massive addiction rates. Over 43% are hooked on social media, constantly chasing that validation. More than 40% are addicted to pornography, which is absolutely destroying their real-world relationships and confidence. And over 35% are addicted to junk food. We're not just talking about bad habits anymore. These are severe, widespread addictions actively degrading millions of lives. Which brings us to Section 2, the cheap dopamine trap, and exactly how megacorporations engineer this addiction. Why are these specific habits so incredibly hard to break? Well, it all comes down to a single chemical. Dopamine. It's that feel-good signal released by your body that basically tells your brain, hey, I want more of that. But here is the critical biological flaw. Your brain doesn't actually judge the activity. It has no idea if what you're doing is good for your health or totally destructive. It just blindly chases that dopamine spike. And that is the exact loophole being exploited. So, the crucial takeaway here is that your lack of focus, it's honestly not entirely your fault. Megacorporations are spending literally billions hiring top-tier neuroscientists and psychologists with one single goal: make their products as addictive as humanly possible. Think about it. Social media gives you that self-validation loop with likes and comments. Video games hand out a fake sense of achievement. Fast food chains perfectly engineer their stuff to hit that exact bliss point of salt and sugar. They get rich, and we get addicted. Now, notice the stark contrast here between these two paths. On the left, you've got cheap dopamine, mindless scrolling, junk food, adult content. It takes absolutely zero effort, but it completely ruins your confidence. On the right, we have intentional dopamine, physical fitness, building genuine relationships, actively earning a living. Both of these paths release dopamine, right? But one destroys your life, while the other actually builds it. So this brings us to the ultimate question. How do we actually break free from all this corporate programming? How do we stop being consumers of cheap dopamine and start rebuilding our focus? That solution starts right here in Section 3, the clean detox process, removing the toxic triggers. Because you can't just add good habits, you first have to ruthlessly clear out the bad ones. We're going to break this acronym down letter by letter. These 5 pillars represent exactly what you need to strip out of your daily routine for an initial period of 7 days. 7 days is your starting line. Let's start with C and L. First, control your screen time. Use app blockers if you have to, but limit your phone usage to just 1 hour a day, and use that hour purely for essential communication. No entertainment. Second, leave opposite sex triggers. Delete the dating apps and completely eliminate pornography. Clinical data actually shows that the dopamine spike from adult content rivals actual intimacy. So if you're frying your brain's receptors staring at a screen, you're severely compromising your ability to find satisfaction in real, meaningful relationships later on. The rest of the process is E, A, and N. Eliminate all junk food. You already know what's bad for you, so just cut it out entirely. Eat clean. Avoid all substances, no smoking, no alcohol, no mind-altering stuff whatsoever for these 7 days. And finally, nurture discipline. You have to be deeply intentional about this. You are guarding your own mind, and that takes strict daily discipline so you don't fall right back into those cheap dopamine traps. Which leads us directly into section 4, the free framework, where we replace bad habits with good ones. Because here is the catch. Once you've cleaned out the garbage, your brain is still going to fiercely crave that dopamine. If you don't fill that void, you will relapse. And that's where the free framework comes in. By swapping out your cheap habits for these 4 high-quality activities, you satisfy your brain's biological need for dopamine while simultaneously pushing yourself into the top 1% of successful, focused individuals. Let's break this down. The S stands for fitness. Keep it incredibly simple so you actually do it every single day. You don't need a fancy gym. 10 minutes of push-ups or squats at home is perfectly fine. Just move your body. The R is for relationships. Invest time in your family and genuine friends. Multiple studies prove that human happiness is directly proportional to the quality of your close relationships. It provides the absolute highest, purest form of intentional dopamine. Then we have the 2 E's, eating clean and earning. Eat simple, home-cooked meals. Keep the fuel you put in your body pristine. And lastly, focus aggressively on earning money. People like to say money isn't everything, but let's be real. In the real world, you need money to secure your health, support your family, and elevate your life. It is just a fundamental, pragmatic pillar of success. Okay, bringing it all together in section 5, the action plan, scaling your detox journey without burning out. Listen, you don't have to fix your entire life forever starting today. That is way too overwhelming. You just need to survive the first 7 days of running the clean and free frameworks. Once you hit day 7, take a 3-day breather. Honestly, you'll probably find you don't even crave the cheap dopamine anymore. Then, double your streak to 14 days. Take another 3-day break and push to 21 days. This is how you systematically scale your focus. The vital psychological trick here? It's realizing that human beings are always addicted to something. We all are. You are simply swapping out an unintentional addiction to cheap thrills and screens for an intentional one. You're actively choosing to become addicted to success, fitness, genuine human connection, and building wealth. So that leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question. Will you accept the 7-day challenge starting today? Will you take back control, or will you let mega corporations keep engineering your failure? If you stumble along the way, hey, that's completely normal. Drop a comment, find an accountability partner, dust yourself off, and start again tomorrow. But at the end of the day, the choice of who controls your brain and your future is entirely up to you. Are you ready to take action?